start with spirulina because it was the first one on Earth, and they, just to let people know, they are as different from each other as night is from day, and they have completely different effects on the body, and there's completely different protocols for taking them. So let me give you some of that. So spirulina is the one that I mentioned the United Nations endorses as the answer to world hunger, because spirulina is well known because it has the highest concentration of protein in the world, and ours is 64%. Now, not only is that high protein, the protein is already in amino acid form, which means your body does not have to work to get access to the aminos. And it's a complete protein, unlike collagen. A lot of people are aware of collagen powder now. It's not a complete protein like algae is. Algae has all 9 essential amino acids. So with all this rich amino acids, the other cool thing about spirulina is that it's technically a bacteria. It's not even a plant. It does not have a cellulose wall or nucleus. The reason why that's important is because, again, there's nothing for your body to have to break down to get access to the aminos. Spirulina is also loaded with B vitamins. B vitamins are what convert the aminos into glucose and energy for you. So this is why spirulina is known for being not only nourishing because of the high protein and 40 other vitamins and minerals, but very energizing physically and mentally. Now, when I say energizing, I'm not talking about, feeling like you had a lightning bolt of energy, or feeling like you can leap off a tall building in a single bound. It's steady energy. You may not even notice it. The best way to describe it is that you just feel fresh. You feel alert, mentally alert, and just physically ready for the day, like you would if you'd had a good night's sleep. So it's a very subtle energy. But when we first started, in fact, we became a sports nutrition company. We weren't planning to, but the runners, the triathletes, Olympic athletes found out about us, and they loved how the spirulina, we call ours energy bits because we thought that was easier to remember than spirulina, because spirulina does give you energy. The athletes found that it gave them steady energy physically, and what they weren't expecting was the mental focus. When you do any kind of sports, especially endurance sports, one of the first things that goes is your focus. And the spirulina, and we'll talk about some of the attributes in a minute, help with the brain focus and functioning of your brain and the health of your brain. And the other bonus was that it did not upset their stomach. Most athletes are taking drinks or bars or gels that are loaded with sugar and carbs that cause stomach distress, and they end up with diarrhea or cramping, and that never happens with spirulina or chlorella because there are no carbs. It is ketogenic. There is no sugar, there's no caffeine, nothing. As I said, there's only 1 calorie in these tiny little tablets. So that's why spirulina, which we call ours energy bits, we have a second brand called beauty bits, but anyways, it's very energizing and nourishing.
One thing too, Catherine, just to jump in real quick, is because I've noticed when I take it that I do have kind of this like steady energy and focus that you might get from caffeine without any of the jitters, and which is really nice because for me, like too much caffeine gives me jitters, and I might be completely off base on this one, but I remember looking and seeing that the vitamin B12 content wasn't it like close to 15 micrograms in a serving, which would be like 30 tablets. Is that pretty close? Or
I don't have the actual chart in front of me, but we're putting the entire chart on our bags. I'm sorry, I don't have it right in front of me, but it does have B12. Okay. Yeah.
But B12, 15 micrograms is a lot. So that's a fair amount, which if you look at other types of plants that are available on the market, by that I mean in your grocery store, is that the vitamin B content, especially B12 and B6, are quite low. Do you happen to know if there's a fair amount of B6 or any B6 available within spirulina? And that tends to be one of the primary arguments for why people shouldn't be on a plant-based diet, is because of lack of B12, lack of B6, lack of B vitamins in general.
Well, that's one of the reasons why algae is so unique. Is it has I found them. So it's got B1, B2, B3, B5, B6, B8, B9, B12. Biotin is one of the Bs. I can't remember which one it is, but in fact, we just about an hour ago, we had an email from a customer who had a very low B12 blood test about a month ago, and he started buying our Vitality Bits, which is a blend of the spirulina and the chlorella. And he had his blood tested again, I guess today or yesterday, and his B12 is way up. I think the average is supposed to be 800 and something, and his was like 1200. So that is one of the many reasons why algae is so unique, is that it has this high B12. Particularly I do have the chart in front of me. So there's 15 mcgs in 30 tablets of the spirulina, and there's 23 in the chlorella. We're going to get to the differences between the two, because chlorella is known as a wellness and health algae, and spirulina is an energizing algae. If you've ever seen any energy drinks, God forbid you take any of them because they're so unhealthy, but nonetheless,
it's a hard pass on me. Probably most people that listen to this podcast.
Exactly. But if you're curious, you can look at the label and you'll see that one of the main ingredients, in addition to caffeine, is B12. Because it's known to be an energizing B vitamin. It's what converts into energy, the glucose and any other ingredients.
One other key variable too, especially this is important for my listeners, is that B12 and B6 are primary synthesizers or B vitamins for the synthesis of different neuromodulating chemicals like serotonin and like dopamine. Without presence of B12 or B6, the synthesis from 5-HTP into serotonin and then L-DOPA into dopamine cannot happen. So we see a lot of people who go on plant-based diets who maybe particularly aren't utilizing, let's say, energy bits that are not getting B12 or not getting B6 or nearly as much as they should be. And so they're not having that great synthesis to these neuromodulators, and they're finding kind of a lack of endurance, lack of focus, and kind of mood detriment. But what you're saying, and what would be indicative of what's in spirulina and chlorella, is a high B12, high B6 content that could help with the synthesizing of these neuromodulating chemicals, which I find fascinating. Thanks for listening to the Hanu Health Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show. This podcast would not happen without listeners and supporters like you. And the best way to support us and the show is to head on over to iTunes and provide us with a 5-star review. This helps us reach others and spread the good word of breathing and stress resiliency. If we read your 5-star review on air, please reach out to podcast@hanuhealth.com with your name and mailing address, and we will send you some sweet Hanu gear. Until next time, breathe better and stress less.